So Matthew, thanks for calling to schedule this advanced care planning conversation. Now that you're married and you've selected Anna to be your healthcare agent, this is a time to be able to talk with her about what matters most so that she can make decisions for you in a situation that might happen where you are unable to make your own decisions. You also have 2 small children, and this is actually a gift that you can give to each other and your family. So I'll be facilitating the conversation and be using this guide that's in front of me. It has a series of questions, and I don't want to forget anything. Those questions will stimulate you talking about what's the most important to you. Anna can listen, ask questions, and at the end be as prepared as possible to make decisions if needed. So that's what we're going to do today. Is there anything else that you'd like to accomplish?
Just getting it all down on paper so we don't lose any of it, that she knows where it is, that if she's not available, someone else knows where it is. That would be the biggest one for me.
Great. And so that will be our goal, to complete that paperwork part, the advanced directive it's called. The conversation that we're having is actually going to make it easier to complete that document, to make sure it's clear, to make sure it represents what you want it to, and that Anna then understands it. So I think that it'll be a little bit easier to do after we chat a bit. I'm going to start then with what you understand about advanced care planning. I know you've had some information. We've certainly talked in the past, but what's your current understanding of advanced care planning?
That we're trying to anticipate something that's difficult to anticipate, right? Something just happening to me that leaves me in a situation where I'm not able to communicate what I want. And I want her to have all the information she needs to make decisions on my behalf. And that this is something that will be in my medical record. No one can take that out. And it's going to be my voice, not anyone else's.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. Do you have any fears or concerns about this kind of planning?
The one, I guess, that just comes to mind is, since we're talking about some type of like horrific event, right? Would be either she's with me, because whenever we travel, we're traveling together, or that it would be something so major that she emotionally would just be struggling with it, and then she's also having to make these decisions for me at that critical moment. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't be able to do it, right? But I don't want to burden her with something like that alone.
So a couple things. Number one, this conversation is extremely helpful for healthcare agents to hear, like you said, in your own voice, to prepare. So that's why talking about it is important. Number two, selecting what we call an alternate or a backup agent is really going to be helpful, both for if you were in a car accident together, to have a backup agent, but also someone who then would support Anna. That means then after today, after you select that agent, you need to talk to that person so they understand as much as Anna understands, and then would be able to be supportive. We think that's really important. There may be other people in the family that you would want to talk to who could also support Anna. Other fears or concerns, either one of you, about this type of planning?
One of my fears or concerns was just around the language that's in the document that we put together, that I truly understand it and that I'm able to communicate that to whether it's medical professionals or other family members, to make sure everyone understands what Matt's wishes are.
Right. So you brought up a really important point, is not only is the conversation important and you being prepared, Anna, but putting something in writing that is consistent with that, that would support the decisions, that would help others understand as well. So that will be one of my jobs toward the end of our conversation, is to transfer what Matthew's goals are, what's important to him, into plain language that you understand, that you both understand. He will sign it, and to make sure that that then would be helpful to you as a written plan, as well as what you know about what you hear today. Any other fears or concerns?
What if I change my mind? on something. You know, it's not like I have access to the electronic medical record, and you know, I can tell her.
It's a great question. So it's a common concern. Number one, it's common for people to change their mind if they get older, if they get sicker, if their life isn't as enjoyable as it used to be. It's really common. So we will encourage you to, you know, revisit your plan every 5 years if you would to contract a disease and something in your life would change. If you have experiences that change what you believe today, so we will encourage you to do that. You can change your mind by simply taking the piece of paper and tearing it up, verbally telling someone that these aren't your beliefs anymore. You want to create a new plan. It's as simple as that. And I think you understand what advance directives are, but let me just ask you, in your own words, what is an advance directive to you?
A summary of what we're talking about here, right? Maybe, I guess I really haven't investigated one too much, but just something that would record what we're talking about here in plain language, like she was mentioning before, so that it's understandable by whoever looks at it.
Great, great. So yeah, it does allow you to write down your goals, values, and preferences. There are many ways to do an advance directive. We recommend that you complete an advance directive that allows you to choose Anna and legally assign the role of healthcare agent to her. And so that'll be the document that we'll recommend. And that document only comes into play. Anna's role as a healthcare agent only comes into play when you can no longer make your own decisions. All right, Anna, again, it's great that you have been willing to, you know, take on this role for obviously someone that you love, but you're here today to learn about the role of the healthcare agent. What do you understand about the role of the agent?
So my understanding is that that Matt has selected me to be his advocate. So if he's in a position where he's unable to make decisions, that I will be able to reference the document that we create and really be his advocate for him, whether it's with the medical staff or even with other family members.
Absolutely. And the word advocate is such a great one. What does advocate mean to you?
Just the person that's fighting for him and for what he wants and what his wishes are.
And so it's a lovely word that you use. So it's definitely your role is to make decisions that Matthew would want you to make, even if you disagree with them, even if others disagree. So that's an important quality of a healthcare agent. It's also important that you're willing to do this and that you're willing to talk to Matthew and learn about his goals and values, which, as he's already mentioned, it might change over time, but to keep that conversation going. And last, you've mentioned it as well, Matthew, is to be able to make decisions under sometimes stressful situations. So those are the 4 qualities of a healthcare agent.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about the role or the things I've described?
Nope, I think I understand the role. Is there a right time for me to choose a healthcare advocate?
You guys are doing great thinking here. Absolutely. So now you're already has stimulated your thought that maybe this would be a good thing for you. And I would definitely have recommended that toward the end. Okay. So as we go through, we'll focus on Matthew, but you'll be learning and you may be thinking about it for yourself. So definitely after today, it would be good for you to do the same thing. Now you may want to go home and you'd be able to, after our talk, you might be able to do that between the 2 of you and be able to complete a plan that represents your goals and values, or we can come back and have another conversation and help you do the same thing.
Okay.
So Matthew, tell me briefly about any experiences you've had with family or friends who became seriously ill or injured, like in a car accident.
I don't know that I really have any. You know, at 40, going on 42 years old, it's probably not super common, but most of the family deaths that I've been a part of have been pleasant. I would call it pleasant. There wasn't any arguing among family, anything like that.
Well, tell me about one of those experiences that was pleasant.
Sure. Well, the most recently was my grandfather. He had participated, you know, and I was actually at one of the the facilitated conversations, and he had everything spelled out
So
exactly.
he did what we're doing for you two today. He
Right.
did that.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And I would say my grandmother didn't necessarily agree with all of it, but she did it. She knew that that's what he wanted, and I don't think it alleviated any of the pain that she was going through, but she kept saying that's what Grandpa wanted. That's what Grandpa wanted, and everyone in the family seemed to be okay with that.
Well,
All
when
of
you
my
talk about
experiences.
Grandpa, you said it was pleasant. What was pleasant about it?
Just the fact that there wasn't any kind of pushback in terms of, when he was telling people what he wanted, he had talked with a healthcare professional about it, and, so he knew everything that was going to happen based on his decisions, right? And we knew exactly what was going to be happening, and we knew exactly what he wanted. So when those situations came up, it didn't require a big family meeting. It didn't require any, sessions of tears, as I would call it, where we're really distressed about it. It was easy.
That's an amazing story. So you learned that because he had talked, the rest of the family knew what he had wanted.
And I don't want to say that, there was no sadness, right? I mean,
Absolutely. Doesn't mean that it's
it
not
was
sad and
difficult,
it's not
but
hard.
that part of it was,
Yep.
not challenging. It seemed simple.
What else did you learn by watching your grandfather
That's
have his?
exactly what I want.
That's what you wanted.
It's exactly what I want. And we've even talked, and she may not agree with everything that we'll decide on or even decide on in the future, but I feel good knowing that what I want is what's going to happen, and that she, or depending on when it happens, our two boys don't have to worry about any of that. It's just done.
That's that gift I was talking about earlier. So you learned that talking made a difference because people understood
Absolutely.
Grandpa's wishes. You learned that it's something that you would want for yourself. What else did you learn?
I learned that family don't always agree.
Anna, were you there for that experience, or was that before?
I was there for that experience, so I
Yeah.
do remember the piece that Grandpa had when he made his decision and communicated it. It seemed like it put everybody at peace a little bit more. I had a different experience when my mom was diagnosed with cancer about 7 years ago. It was a situation where a sudden illness happened, and none of us, not myself or my two sisters or my brother, had any idea what my mom wanted. We didn't understand the type of care she wanted. We didn't understand really what any of her wishes were when she was hit with that. And so it made it really difficult for us to support her, to help her with any of her decisions, to get her what she needed. And it really, I think it was very stressful for us, but I think it made it a lot more difficult for her too, because we had never had conversations around what to do or what she wanted. So it was really hard for us to help her.
I'm really sorry that experience. It sounds heart-wrenching for anyone. So number one, you learned that it was really difficult for all of your family because you didn't know.
Right.
What else did you learn from that experience with your mom?
Well, what I learned was you just don't know what someone wants unless you sit down and have the conversation.
So thanks, you guys. You really have two stories that are very different. And what a powerful lesson it sounds like for both of you in your interest and willingness to, do something different for each other and as well as for your children. So thanks for sharing for both of you. Matthew, tell me what living well, tell us what living well means to you. If you're having a good day, what would happen on that day? Who would you talk to? What would you do?
A good day for me is sleeping in a little bit, nice cup of coffee, and then going paddleboarding. Yeah, that would be an ideal day, coming home, having a nice supper, maybe relaxing with my wife and children, maybe we watch a program, maybe we read a little bit, and then we all fall asleep on the couch together. That would be a perfect day for me.
Sounds
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
So sleeping in, being active, being with your family, having dinners with them, and going to sleep together with them. Anything else gives your life meaning?
Just kind of pursuit of my own intellectual interests, right? Today's day and age, I can jump on the internet whenever I have a question about something. I find myself doing that daily. I really enjoy it. You know, a certain subject matter I can just read about on a daily basis that I enjoy doing.
So
That's a big one to
staying
me.
intellectually stimulated.
Yeah, I think so.
absolutely.
Yeah, learning. Yeah.
Anything else?
I would say right now, I mean, if we have to pick right now, it's our kids. You know, that's, I mean, I talked about doing stuff as a family, but really being there for them, being their dad, and helping them learn.
Well, so far you've shared your fears and concerns about planning. I hope I've addressed some of those so that we can think about backup plans. We can think about your fear of, is this forever? You can always change your mind. You've talked about two different experiences, one that was pleasant in your words, Matthew. It was easy in your words. And Anna, in your words, it was very different. And that the reason then that we're here today is so that you guys can give that gift to each other, so that you can experience whatever down the road that's going to make sense to both of you. And you've also talked about how you enjoy life in so many different ways, and that's who you are. So thanks for sharing all of those things. By talking about your experiences and what it means to live well, you've shared actually many personal beliefs. I'd like to ask you about any additional beliefs that might help you choose the care that you want or the care that you don't want. What cultural beliefs do you have, if any?
I don't know if I have anything that would affect how I'm going to make a decision or not. Yeah, kind of spiritual in a sense, but
That was going to be my next question. Maybe that fits a little bit better. What spiritual beliefs do you have, if
Sure.
any?
none that would be dictated by any type of rules or anything like that. My goal would be simply to be happy with wherever I'm at, and to probably just be able to interact, hopefully on some level, with people. And I don't really know what that means as it's coming out of my mouth quite yet, but I don't think I have any like religious or cultural or spiritual beliefs that would get in the way of anything I'm going to decide.
Yeah, anything though like prayer, meditation, or music that kind of falls into the realm of spiritual, something that might help you face challenging times.
Sure, music, definitely. I'm that guy. If I'm experiencing something, I hear a particular song in my head, and I just start singing the tune. So that would be one that's helped me get through some challenging situations in my life.
So you guys can just think about that. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's very, apparent, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. But for some people, there's something that comes immediately to mind, and that's the reason for asking. We don't know if something's important to you unless we ask.